He was beaten, abandoned by his own family, and called worthless by an entire village. His parents were murdered by a plague, and instead of sympathy, people said he deserved it. Growing up, he was told again and again that he'd never be strong enough, never be a warrior, never matter. But then, something impossible happens. A sword, one that has rejected every single person who's ever touched it, chooses him. Not because he's the strongest, not because he's the chosen one everyone expected, but because deep inside him sleeps the soul of a goddess powerful enough to destroy demons that have ruled the world for 150 years. A power so dangerous, even his closest friends start to fear him. A secret so old, it could rewrite everything he thought he knew about his past. This is the story of a boy the world threw away, who becomes the only person standing between humanity and total annihilation. Let's get into it. Years go by, and Musashi begins school, learning the region's history. This land, Hinamoto, once belonged only to humans until a powerful demon lord arrived and took control. Human generals resisted bravely but were eventually crushed by these demons, known as Oni. Their descendants, however, kept up the fight. In the present day, Hinamoto's people worship the Oni, believing servitude will improve their lives. Many take up mining, extracting a special ore the Oni require. Musashi refuses to view the demons as gods. His teacher explains that 150 years ago, the Bushi warrior bands who fought the demons were regarded as monsters who only made ordinary life harder. But Musashi feels that's unfair. While training with Kojiro, Kojiro's father shows up and describes Bushi bands battling to free Hinamoto from the demons. Kojiro asks whether Bushi could actually beat the Oni. Musashi insists that fighting beside friends could win the day. They promise each other they'll become Bushi and one day leave the village to start their own warrior band. The next day, their teacher announces tomorrow's mining entrance ceremony. Most boys are excited, imagining the Oni will look beautiful. After school, Musashi tells Kojiro he intends to attack the Oni with his pickaxe, rather than become a miner. Kojiro grows furious, calling it all lies. His father lied about Bushi being heroes, and the claim that Oni are demons is also false. Musashi urges him not to give up on his dream. But Kojiro fires back, accusing him of hypocrisy for publicly claiming he wants to mine, while secretly dreaming of becoming Bushi. Musashi storms off, though Kojiro only said it because he didn't want his friend to suffer the same hardships he has. That evening, villagers mock Kojiro for carrying his sword while collecting trash, a habit his father instilled, since a warrior should always keep his blade close, even though it's earned him nothing but scorn and leftover scraps to eat. He doesn't want Musashi to end up living that same life, since he thinks of him as a brother. The next day arrives, the entrance ceremony. Gatekeepers confiscate everyone's belongings before letting them in. Inside, the students are horrified to find Oni devouring humans. Musashi, forgetting his pickaxe was taken, steps forward boldly anyway. The Oni transforms into a huge monster and wounds him after he attacks with a small mining pick. His classmates beg him to apologize, but Musashi insists killing Oni is a Bushi's job, until another boy reminds him they're only miners. Doubt creeps in, and the Oni seizes the moment to strike him down again. Even so, he keeps fighting, realizing he lied about his dream just to avoid being an outcast. Just as the Oni is about to kill him, Kojiro suddenly roars in on a motorcycle and smashes it over the creature's head. Kojiro hands Musashi back his pickaxe along with a note, admitting he now believes Musashi really was secretly training swordsmanship while pretending to mine. Owning that motorcycle, incidentally, is a crime punishable by death. The downed Oni rises again, and more join in attacking. Seeing a chance to prove himself, Musashi uses a self-taught move, leaping into the air and cleaving the demon in two, but this only triggers the remaining Oni to transform as well. Mid-fight, Musashi tells Kojiro he didn't call him over out of fear, but because fighting alone is simply too lonely. Together, they take down every monster there, and Kojiro, remembering their shared childhood dream, agrees to travel with him. A red glow suddenly appears in the sky. Officials instantly start worshipping it, since it belongs to none other than the Oni Lord, Kyoshin. The two ride toward it, rescuing miners along the way, and finally reach Kyoshin, a small red bird that abruptly balloons into a colossal monster. They flee on the bike, but its stomp launches them airborne. Kojiro tells the now unconscious Musashi to escape, while Kyoshin grabs him and tries to swallow his sword. When Musashi comes to, he sees Kojiro being dragged across the ground as Kyoshin wrenches at the blade, reminding him how he once despised that very sword. Kyoshin finally rips it free and eats it, recalling his father's lesson that a Bushi sword is his pride. Kojiro watches Musashi sprint toward Kyoshin to retrieve it, scaling its body and striking its stomach with his pick. Kyoshin howls in pain as Musashi keeps attacking, dodging counterstrikes, and with one final blow tears its belly open, getting swallowed himself in the process. Kojiro assumes he's dead, until Musashi climbs out holding Kojiro's sword. Kojiro thanks him for recovering it. Officials report a Bushi fortress approaching. Warriors burst out on motorcycles, smashing through a barrier meant to protect the mine, and head straight for Kyoshin. Their captain, Natora, warns Musashi and Kojiro this is no place for children, but Musashi insists he's the one who first tore open Kyoshin's stomach. Natora laughs, explaining that alone isn't enough since Kyoshin regenerates almost instantly, which the creature proves by getting back up. Natora orders the miners evacuated while his band engages. Driven by his lifelong dream, Musashi wants in on the fight, breaks free of restraint, and charges again, ripping Kyoshin's stomach open once more before it heals right back. Kojiro reveals the real weak spot, a horn on its navel, but when Musashi strikes it, his weapon snaps in half. As Kyoshin retaliates with fire, Natora arrives and slices off the horn in a single stroke. Frustrated at losing his first kill, Musashi is told by Natora that it's actually better this way. Everyone here is fighting for their own dream. Together they finish the demon off. Everyone begins absorbing Kyoshin's released power, Kitizu, as grateful miners thank them. Kojiro breaks down crying, realizing his father was right that Bushi truly are the world's heroes. Natora gives a speech about building a world with no monsters left. Still stewing over his stolen first kill, Musashi mouths off at Natora, who instead compliments his bluntness and hands him, as a reward, a strange purple gem to everyone's amusement. That night, Musashi notices the gem lets him see Oni. Digging into a Bushi scroll for more history, they learn a Bushi's duty is to reclaim treasure from every Kyoshin and unite the whole country. Whoever conquers them all becomes king. Musashi suspects this is exactly what Natora wants, and confronts him directly. Natora confirms he does intend to become king, but Musashi declares he'll build his own band and defeat every Kyoshin himself. Amused, Natora wishes him well on his journey. Musashi and Kojiro set off together, swearing not to argue during their travels, a promise they break almost instantly once food runs low. Kojiro proves the better survivalist, catching plenty of fish while Musashi catches none. Just as he decides to apologize, he finds Kojiro beaten up on the ground by a girl named Sugami, who then captures them both and hauls them to her clan's fortress, throwing them in a cell. Their leader, Hyodo, scolds Sugami for failing to recruit strong new Bushi, insisting even women and children must fight if Oni attack again. Sugami argues that sending the weak into battle is wrong, but he won't hear it. Later, visiting the cell, she notices they don't even recognize the word Kitisu, the glowing dust released when a Kyoshin dies, which Bushi use to strengthen themselves. Her clan needs it badly, since a horde of monsters is closing in fast. She admits she doesn't want ordinary people forced to fight, but lacks the nerve to say so openly. That night, Kojiro uses his chain weapon to snag the cell key, and they escape just as the monster horde arrives like an earthquake. Hyodo orders Sugami to ready women and children for combat when she refuses. He fakes tears claiming the orphan he raised as a daughter has betrayed him, then deciding she's now worthless. Tries to cast her out of the fortress, threatening she'll live alone in the woods. Terrified of solitude, she agrees to obey. Standing before a painting of herself, her sister, and Hyodo, she remembers he treated her sister exactly the same way, and resolves once again to protect people from him. Right then, Musashi and Kojiro crash through the painting. Musashi tells her she's remarkably strong and clever. She did beat up Kojiro, after all, and invites her to join them. Encouraged, she agrees to return their weapons in exchange for help. Together they plan to lead the townspeople to safety. As Hyodo rallies untrained villagers to fight, some try to flee but soldiers block their way. Sugami throws a smoke bomb to create a distraction, declaring a Bushi's job is to protect people, not send them to die, while Musashi and Kojiro knock the guards out amid the confusion. Yet no one actually leaves. They fear Hyodo as much as Sugami always has. She realizes the only way to free them is to defeat him herself. When the fight breaks out, he throws her down and keeps kicking her, but she spits in his face, declares she'll never take his orders again, and activates her weapon, ultimately restraining and overpowering him. Seeing him beaten, the villagers finally flee. By the time the monster arrives, only Sugami remains, still holding Hyodo bound. She won't leave, satisfied she saved everyone, but just before she's crushed, Musashi and Kojiro arrive and rescue both of them. Musashi praises her bravery, and she smiles, agreeing to join their group permanently. The trio then heads for their next destination, the Blue Kyoshin, according to a crystal reading. Camped later, Musashi dreams of Kojiro's father. An Oni sneaks up and steals Kojiro's sword. Chasing it, Musashi's own weapon shatters against its horn. He tracks it to a place scattered with swords, meeting a man named Shiro, who tells him he can pick any blade there to defeat the Oni. The instant he grabs one, crystals burst from his body, and an unfamiliar surge of power lets him destroy the Oni, though the sword itself breaks. Baffled at how much power Musashi absorbed, Shiro wonders if he's finally found the one he's been searching for. Before he can explain, his companion Nanao arrives, and the two leave. Sugami explains that Kitizu blades are essential for cutting an Oni's horn, and that such swords are actually sold at markets. They arrive at one such marketplace. Someone asks what their band is called. They don't have a name yet, so they decide to name it after their leader Kojiro's family, the Kanma Band, since Musashi has no surname of his own. At the auction, Musashi can't decide which blade to choose until Mitsuru, head smith of the selling clan, tells him to simply pick whichever draws him in. He's instantly taken with her. Everyone stands beside the sword calling to them. Both Musashi and Kojiro gravitate toward blades that mirror something in themselves. Kojiro's sword accepts him quickly, wrapping him in a blue aura. Mitsuru explains every Bushi soul has a color, and the blade's minerals glow to match. Blue is common, and every band should ideally have at least one red-souled member. Musashi's trial drags on much longer. He relives painful memories. Oni-worshipping villagers murdering Kojiro's father, and a mysterious girl who embraces him before turning skeletal and rejecting him. Back in reality, black crystals erupt from his body. His aura, unusually, is black. The sword rejects him, and every subsequent blade does the same. Mitsuru explains that a black soul simply cannot wield a Kitesu blade at all, meaning he can never truly be Bushi. Devastated, he's comforted by Kojiro and Sugami. Just then, a blue Kyoshin attacks, unleashing waves of Oni. Without a functioning blade, Musashi feels useless while Kojiro saves lives and, for the first time ever, hears genuine words of thanks. The rest of the group rushes off to fight the blue Kyoshin, leaving Musashi behind. Alone and heartbroken, he's approached by Shiro, who reveals his own aura is black too and insists Musashi belongs with him. Accepting the black stones, he claims, would grant him enormous power. Shiro cuts a massive pit into the ground and tosses Musashi a blade, saying that taking this trial will turn him into a Kitisu blade himself. Musashi refuses. He wants to fight beside friends, not become a weapon. Shiro threatens to convert his friends into blade material too, so he'll never be alone, prompting Musashi to swing at him. But Shiro simply shoves him into the pit, sword and all. Meanwhile, Kojiro, climbing toward the blue Kyoshin, tells Sugami there was nothing more they could have done for Musashi. She asks about his parents, and Kojiro explains they were poor, hardworking, kind farmers, whom the whole village resented, simply for befriending a Bushi family, until their deaths. Elsewhere, the girl Nanao realizes the obsidian goddess Shiro's been hunting is actually inside Musashi. That's exactly why he threw him into the pit. She warns that Musashi is about to face an impossible choice. Falling, he grabs the blade to slow himself, but touching it unleashes the black crystals again, leaving him two options: plunge into lava below and die, or lose consciousness and turn to stone. As he struggles to climb using the stone, a girl's voice tells him she won't allow it. His body becomes fully encased in crystal, and he drops straight into the lava, protected by the shell. Inside his own mind, he meets the goddess who insists he'd be better off staying hidden forever, showing him painful memories of universal hatred, including one villager forcing his own father to stone Kojiro's father to death out of peer pressure, a guilt he still carries today. The goddess insists he can never become Bushi or wield a Kitisu blade, urging him to abandon the world and remain with her, calling him useless to his friends, and begins fully converting him to crystal. Above, the group finds Kyoshin's headless body. Someone already destroyed the horn without a corresponding Kitsu appearing, which strikes them as odd. Shiro reveals he decapitated it, and announces he's here to collect everyone's Kitisu blades, meaning everyone must die. Realizing he's a sword hunter who kills blade owners for their weapons, the Bushi rally to fight, but he effortlessly slices through the terrain and defeats them in waves. He warns Kojiro he's already converted Musashi into sword material and that he's next, terrifying him. Deep in the crystal, Musashi is still alive. The goddess keeps insisting he stay hidden, but a green rope hauls him upward. It's Nanao, checking whether he's already fully converted. Regaining consciousness, the crystals fall away and villagers clothe him. Remembering everything, he rushes to help his friends, recalling a memory of apologizing to Kojiro's father for his role in his death, only to be forgiven completely and thanked for being the first person in the village to show his family kindness, with a request to always look after Kojiro. Meanwhile, Shiro is tearing through the area, chasing Kojiro specifically. Kojiro attacks with his Kitisu blade, but Shiro shrugs off every hit, wounds him badly, and is about to finish him when Musashi arrives. Shiro finds his current half-stone half-human state genuinely fascinating. Nanao apologizes for her failed mission, but Shiro says he still wants the goddess inside Musashi to boost his own strength, and battle resumes. Nano splits her weapon into 7 blades, overwhelming the trio, but Musashi believes he can beat her since, unlike an Oni, she's not invincible. Using a technique of anchoring his sword into stone, he dodges her strikes and coordinates with Kojiro and Sugami, faking a retreat by 2 of them to lure Nano toward Musashi alone, letting Sugami intervene so Musashi can slice through her staff. Just as victory seems near, Shiro steps in, activating his blade rings for a devastating attack that flips an entire mountain, sending everyone tumbling. Only a handful manage to protect their blades. Shiro proves more dangerous than any Kyoshin, continuing to cut down survivors' footing. Time freezes as the goddess appears to Musashi, warning that Shiro is her real enemy, wanting to kill Musashi and steal her power. She's willing to spend her remaining strength just to save him. Musashi refuses to abandon his friends, which pleases her, and she temporarily shares her power, briefly taking over his body to show him what it can do. Time resumes. Black crystals sprout everywhere, dragging every bit of blade energy toward Musashi, even Shiro's and Nanao's. Realizing only the goddess can do this, Shiro understands what's happening as Musashi, visually fused with her, yanks his blade back, rights the flipped mountain, and the goddess takes on both enemies personally, effortlessly deflecting Nanao's strikes while explaining to Kojiro that black aura users called the Forsaken can pull or push blade energy at will, an unstable and hard-to-control gift, warning that her external form won't last, and she must return to sleep inside Musashi. She launches one last devastating strike, drawing on everyone's blade energy to blast Shiro far away. Musashi returns to normal as his friends ask about the power that dealt with Shiro so easily. Inside, the goddess tells him he must stay alive, since he's her current vessel, just as Kojiro's father once was, and their shared mission depends on it. Kaoshin's remains have vanished from where they fell. Shiro and Nanao had already taken them, entirely unharmed by the earlier attack, thrilled to have finally confirmed the goddess's existence. The group mourns their fallen and rests overnight. The next morning, Musashi tries the blade again, and this time a red aura, the rarest color, surrounds him instead of black, now that the goddess has gone dormant within him. Musashi asks Kojiro whether his father ever mentioned the obsidian goddess, no, or where his motorcycle came from. A mystery, since no one else in the village owned one. Kojiro brings out a map of Hinamoto, eager to learn more about the Bushi world his father once described. Elsewhere, Shiro and Nanao discuss how someone summoned the goddess 50 years earlier, suspecting there's a deliberate reason she chose Musashi as her vessel. They set off eastward. The group's bike gets stuck in a dense forest. While Musashi tries to fix it, he turns around to find a giant monster has grabbed Kojiro and Sugami. Drawing his sword, he dodges its attack and shatters its horn in one strike, absorbing its kitisu. The monster had also swallowed another victim, a girl who thanks Musashi for saving her. An old man rushes over, addressing her as princess, and explains she is Michiru, daughter of the head of a powerful alliance en route to a decisive battle for their nation's future. With their bike broken, the group tags along. Musashi keeps trying to talk with Michiru, but Kojiro repeatedly interrupts with questions. Annoyed, Musashi finally asks him outright why he won't let him speak to her, impressing Michiru that he even remembered her name. When the trail gives way and she starts falling, Musashi jumps after her. She shapes her kitesu blade into an umbrella, saving them both. She admits she's actually introverted and struggles with new people, making him laugh. She points east toward a massive black wall stretching into the sky, the very first Kyoshin, which arrived roughly 150 years ago and split humanity into those who fight the Oni and those who worship them. Worshippers built mines to keep feeding it, letting it grow until it now covers half the country, and if left unchecked, it will eventually consume entire towns. Musashi insists they should defeat it right away, but Michiru points out no one has managed to in 150 years. The old man boasts that their alliance leader, Tatsumi, will surely succeed, ranking among the nation's 5 strongest Bushi generals, and invites them to join the cause. Michiru asks Kojiro if his father ever mentioned this particular Kyoshin. Nothing about it appears in the scroll. Sugami spots the Usugi band's crest on it, suggesting Kojiro's father once belonged to that band. At a coastal port, Bushi bands train while officials receive news about the obsidian goddess. Off-duty, Nanao gets contacted via crystal by Shiro's group, already plotting to capture the goddess. Musashi's group finds a fortress marked with the Uesugi emblem, but is stopped at the gate. The Lord is busy preparing for battle. Asked which band they represent, Musashi proudly says Kanma, met with mockery since no one's ever heard of it. A guard named Noe orders them detained as outsiders, and just as Musashi's about to fight back, someone pins him down. A helicopter bearing the clan crest arrives, and everyone kneels, expecting their reclusive lord to step out. Instead, it's Natora, captain of the Takeda band. Musashi rushes over casually, only for Natora to pretend not to know him, embarrassing him, before laughing it off as a joke. Everyone's stunned that someone treats these outsiders so casually, given he's a rival to this clan's leader and one of the 5 great generals. When Noe tries to detain them regardless, Natora vouches for them and heads off alone to meet the Lord. Inside, the Lord Tatsumi of Usugi immediately orders the outsiders executed upon hearing about them, since he shows no mercy to anyone outside his bloodline. Natora smooths it over by calling them distant cousins. Musashi still wants to meet the Lord personally, but the vice captain explains it's impossible. This is a rigidly traditional clan notoriously harsh toward outsiders. He suggests they gather intel during the upcoming battle instead, though he warns them to steer clear of the actual fighting. This isn't an ordinary Kyoshin, but one of 4 direct descendants of the original Black Kyoshin. Every meal it eats strengthens that original demon further, so defeating this one weakens the source directly. Sugami's power teleports Musashi alone into the fortress, where he unknowingly chats casually with the Lord himself, only realizing who he's talking to when Noe shows up to report readiness. Learning they're outsiders, the Lord decrees trespassing means death, but since they arrived with Natora, they're spared and sent to the barracks, with Musashi split off from Kojiro and Sugami into a different unit full of internal tension. That unit decides its leader will be settled by one-on-one duels using reversed blades. Last one standing, or not knocked out of bounds, wins. Musashi enters the competition. Despite being underestimated, he blocks every attack thrown at him by Kasumi and then Akihiro, earning everyone's attention. Rival bands wonder who this unknown Kanma fighter even is. Akihiro, from the aggressive Shimazu faction, is told to eliminate them fast. He ambushes with hidden boot blades, beating Musashi against a wall until he's unconscious. When Musashi comes to, Kasumi is also badly hurt but refuses to yield until Musashi steps in and accepts Akihiro as leader, prompting Kasumi to concede as well. That night, Akihiro intimidates the unit into silence. Musashi argues that fear kills honest communication, comparing it to how Oni worshippers back home silence dissent. Akihiro dismisses the meeting entirely, unbothered, and no one dares back Musashi publicly. Hurt, he goes searching for Kojiro, only to find him thriving happily in his own unit, deepening his loneliness. The next day, Musashi's unit is picked for the first island deployment, tasked with pinning enemies down while Shimazu delivers the finishing blows. Sea monsters ambush their ships en route. Musashi's attacks on the horn do nothing, and he's nearly blindsided until Noe steps in, single-handedly wiping out several monsters and scolding his teammates for their slow reaction. More surface, and Noe lines them up, shattering every horn in one motion, impressing everyone. Akihiro then appears to destroy another horn solo. Really, his unit was channeling combined power into him, echoing how the goddess once gathered everyone's energy. Musashi realizes their success comes from shared purpose, not fear-based obedience. Elsewhere, Tatsumi tells his vice captain Kuroko they've located the obsidian goddess and could use her power to secure victory, but the enemy knows too and will try to stop them. Feeling like a burden, Musashi decides to leave, but Kasumi talks him out of it with encouragement, quickly becoming something of a role model in his eyes. Kasumi reveals Awaji Island, their target, used to be his hometown before Oni overran it, fueling his drive to destroy them. Training with Kasumi the next day, Michiru watches from a distance crystals slipping from her body as she secretly reports to the Black Dogs. She's actually a spy planted in the Alliance, ordered by her father to kill the Obsidian Goddess's host. She's desperate to complete the mission and prove her worth, being the only one of his 3,000 daughters capable of wielding a Kitisu blade. Yet she's fallen for Musashi, the first person to treat her kindly with no hidden agenda. Musashi invites her to practice sinking blade energy. The moment they connect, crystals erupt and lift them into the air. Inside the shared crystal, Michiru warns her father will soon pinpoint their location and urges they flee. Outside, Bushi struggled to contain the runaway crystal until Kuroko traps and shrinks it, dropping them back down safely. Tatsumi and Kuroko arrive, but rather than suspect Michiru as the leak, they arrest Musashi and punish him publicly, ignoring his friend's protests of innocence. Watching from afar, Michiru vows to save him and contacts her father via crystal. Unaware this plays directly into Kuroko's trap, exposing her father's location. Before the island assault, Tatsumi announces the attack for the next day, but Akahiro's entire unit is abruptly suspended for unclear reasons. Michiru tries to free Musashi and instead kill the guards, but only manages to break him out. Akahiro finds him, blade at his throat, blaming him for the suspension until Musashi convinces him otherwise, and Akahiro realizes his own teammates' jealousy was behind it. Suddenly, a pack of unusual Oni attacks, calling Michiru their sister. Bewildered, Musashi learns from her siblings that she's one of them, tasked with killing the obsidian goddess's vessel. Michiru confirms it as black crystals erupt from her. A hologram of her father Yataro reminds her of the mission, but she stays silent. Her sister then attacks Musashi with Michiru still in her grip. He dodges and severs the creature's fingers, further angering the group, who assume he's abducting her, until Michiru shields him from their counterattack. Natora and Kuroko arrive, hacking off the monster's limbs, though they regrow instantly. The creatures demand the obsidian goddess be surrendered, unsure whether she's inside Musashi or Michiru. As Musashi tries to lift the badly wounded Michiru, Kuroko heals her using blade energy, then, unexpectedly, warms up to Musashi. Noe and the others clear out the smaller Oni. Two surviving siblings begin devouring their wounded sister to grow stronger, Yataro's hologram explaining that weaker children simply become fuel for stronger ones. The merged creature shrugs off Noe's reinforced shield attack, bolstered by Orochi's blood, and reinforcements swarm in, forcing Noe's team to retreat toward the castle. The now unstoppable fused monster keeps devouring smaller Oni to grow further. Yataro orders his forces to seize the castle, dismissing Michiru as a traitor anyone can freely kill and eat. He mocks the Bushi as nothing without each other, always exploited by their own strongest. Kasumi links everyone's energy, freely sharing power with his comrades. Kuroko explains his soul is yellow, meaning he amplifies and distributes energy, a philosophy opposite to Yataro's hoarding. The boosted group fights fearlessly, and Noe lands the finishing blow on the merged beast. Confused how the enemy got past their barrier, they discover Shiro is responsible, grabbing Uesugi by the mouth and flashing his own sword as proof. Blood pours from the castle. Rushing to help, everyone finds Noe's connection abruptly cut. Shiro's ally Suruku, another yellow energy user, is jamming their sync. Shiro tells Musashi he plans to forge him a special sword, but surrounded decides to finish the conversation later, teleporting himself and Musashi elsewhere, while swapping Musashi's location for Orochi's severed head, which then devastates a large section of the city with a single strike. Musashi finds himself at the heart of Awaji Island, where Yataro intends to kill him and revive the obsidian goddess. Regaining consciousness, Michiru begs her father to spare him, promising to research a way to extract the goddess without killing him. Touched, Yataro embraces her, calling her truly his daughter and noting her shared love of research, then draws his sword anyway. Musashi shoves her aside just in time, and Yataro turns Michiru to black stone instead. Meanwhile, Orochi rampages while Suruku brutalizes Noe. Musashi demands to know what happened to Michiru. Yataro reveals she isn't fully human. She was created from a fragment of Orochi, though deemed a failure since she's no stronger than an average human. Musashi insists she's incredibly brave, willing to risk everything for her people, and asks Yataro to restore her. He does, but she loses every memory, not recognizing Musashi or even her own name. Enraged, Musashi attacks. Yataro easily overpowers him until Michiru, briefly remembering his name, strikes her father from behind before forgetting again. Yataro knocks her down, threatening to erase her memory completely if she defies him again, then teleports Musashi away moments before delivering the finishing blow. Meanwhile, Takeda's band arrives to help. Natora learns Shiro killed Uesugi and engages him directly. Suruku is dismantling Noe until Shiro swaps Musashi in to fight him instead, noting that defeating the giant Kyoshin will require the obsidian goddess's power. They descend to a basement where Noe reveals the goddess was once an actual woman able to control blade energy, the original source of Kitisu blades for humanity. Her spirit lingered after death, and whoever hosts it inherits her powers, meaning Musashi alone can unite every Bushi in Hinomoto. Noe brings out a treasure containing a tool capable of unlocking the goddess's power, on the condition Musashi first defeats Orochi, since the Black Dogs holding Uesugi captive control access to it. Noe explains that the Black Dogs, self-styled Obsidian 8, wield Kitesu blades on Orochi's behalf and have killed thousands of Bushi over the past century. Opening the chest reveals a vial of the obsidian goddess's blood. Musashi reluctantly drinks it but feels no effect. The next day, they launch the assault by setting the surrounding area on fire, diverting Kyoshin's attention while the group infiltrates. An Oni ambush, set up by a spy leaking their plans to Suruku, is thwarted by the previously suspended Shimazu band. The Black Dogs, alarmed that Takeda is helping despite the spy's earlier report that Natora would refuse, realize it was Kuroko's countermove all along. As Musashi's unit prepares to detonate explosives, Shiro teleports the bombs onto Takeda's own ships instead, seemingly handing the Black Dogs an easy win. Suruku taunts Kuroko through the spy network, until she reveals she'd already identified every spy beforehand. Noe, hidden nearby, ambushes Suruku, recalling how Yusugi once called him their strongest fighter. His earlier loss had crushed the team's morale, so now he's fighting with everything left in him. He shatters Suruku's blade, breaking the seal Suruku had placed and restoring everyone's ability to link energy. Suruku draws another blade as Natora arrives to help Musashi, while the rest push to kill Orochi, which first requires taking down the Black Dogs, meaning Musashi must beat Yataro himself. At first, Noe holds the advantage against Suruku, but Suruku's special technique lets him inflict prolonged torture instead of a quick kill, breaking bones, burning him, and shattering every finger so he can never wield a blade again, forcing him to watch his allies lose one by one. Even so, Noe recovers using his bandages, stunning Suruku, then reverses his blade's flow to shatter all of Suruku's seals, healing himself fully. Before Suruku can react, Noe strikes. His allies try to shield him, but he pushes them aside and takes the blow through his own hand, driving his sword straight through Suruku's chest. Natora asks his vice-captain to seal off his duel with Shiro inside a barrier. Eager to end things fast so he can reach the goddess, Shiro activates his blade rings. Natora, sensing he's seen this technique before, asks if they've met. Shiro claims no memory of it and has no time for such questions. Natora suggests it'd be better if the goddess died for good, since she's the reason Bushi keep turning on each other. Furious, Shiro shatters the barrier, floods everything with seawater, and traps the surrounding fighters in a cube, assuming the pressure alone kills them. But Natora slices the cube apart. No one's harmed. He strikes at Shiro with his Kitisu blade, only to have every attack teleported straight back at him. He asks Shiro's soul color white. Shiro reveals the rarest and strongest, unlike Natora's common, supposedly weak blue, lacking any unique ability. Shiro dominates the exchange, cracking open lava vents aimed at Natora, but rising water solidifies the lava into stone first. Natora's vice-captain recalls how, when the whole unit felt discouraged by their shared blue auras, Natora revealed a hidden strength: control over natural elements, mirroring how Kyoshin themselves manipulate them. Using fire and water, Natora conjures tiger constructs to strike Shiro, who dismisses them easily and pulls Natora into a private pocket dimension to finish things. But just before the portal seals, Natora gathers as much fire and water as he can manage. Inside, Shiro asks why he even bothered mastering elemental control, since it can't cut through a Kyoshin's horn. Natora reveals he learned it specifically to face Shiro, flashing back to when Shiro once slaughtered dozens of Bushi effortlessly, and Natora first spotted his signature blade ring glowing in the sky. Compressing the gathered fire and water into a small sphere, he shapes it into a blade. Shiro finds it genuinely intriguing, but before he can finish his sentence, Natora slips past him, and stone begins spilling from Shiro's body. Natora returns to Awaji Island and announces he's destroyed Shiro's Kitisu blade. His allies erupt in celebration. With 2 Black Dogs down, only Musashi remains to face Yataro. The technique cost Natora temporary use of his arm, meaning he can't fight with his blade for a while. One team heads off to finish Orochi while another goes to rescue the Yusugi Lord. Musashi pushes deeper into the base and finds Yataro, who declares his plan has finally succeeded, having sacrificed all his daughters to fully merge with Kyoshin, turning into a massive demon. He converts several remaining daughters into swords and unleashes them on the surrounding Bushi, leaving only Musashi's unit and the Shimazu band standing. When Shimazu spots the horn on his transformed body and moves in to destroy it, Yataro's blades intercept, preventing anyone from linking their energy by constantly striking between them. Musashi saves a Shimazu fighter, only to be ignored as the fight resumes. The floating blades form beams that block all connection, but Musashi begins destroying them one by one, saving yet another teammate, until the group finally links up and shatters the horn, dispelling every blade at once. Even after the fight, the monster's body doesn't convert into Kitisu. Instead, it becomes a giant serpent, channeling all remaining crystal energy toward the true Kyoshin to fully restore its power. Everyone rushes to stop the serpent, chaining and striking its head with no effect. They call for Musashi to take Akahiro's place, needing red blade energy for the link. But Akahiro steps up first, destroying the horn personally, baffling everyone since, as a child, he was the complete opposite of his current self. Flashback. All of Akahiro's siblings received blue auras as children except him. His alone was red. Even so, when their father chose Akahiro as heir over his older brother, Akahiro protested that his brother was the stronger fighter, only to accidentally defeat him in the trial match anyway, sealing their father's decision and creating lasting resentment between them. In the present, Akahiro asks everyone to funnel their power into him for one decisive strike on the serpent, remembering how happy they'd all been before their Kitizu blades ever entered the picture, vowing to always stand ahead of his siblings to shield them from danger. Just as he's about to shatter the horn, Orochi's detached head swallows him whole, yet the energy link stays active, proving he's still alive, perfectly calm inside the beast. Akahiro had already decided to die in this battle so his brother could finally lead and the family could find peace. The serpent slams him into the ground. Accepting his fate, he opens his eyes to find his older brother standing over him, tossing him a stick and saying Musashi mentioned he'd fallen, and everyone realizes how deeply his brother actually cares. His siblings pile in, playfully roughing him up and forgiving him fully. Reconnected, Akahiro finally destroys the serpent's horn, and together the Bushi wipe out every remaining horn on Orochi, finally ending its reign after 150 years. The sky turns blue once more as everyone starts absorbing Kitisu dust, but instead of flowing into their swords, it rises toward a mountain peak, where an earthquake reveals black stones surfacing from the ground. Kojiro and Sugami, still searching underground for the Usugi Lord, are found by Musashi along with Usugi himself, missing an arm. Usugi reveals that during his captivity, Michiru was nearby, talking of nothing but how much she loves Musashi, despite currently having no memory of him. Musashi rushes off to find her, reaching the mountain peak only to discover a massive crater. Inside, they find a black sword. Yataro appears and claims it, having fully fused himself with Kyoshin and turned Michiru into an extraordinarily powerful Kitezu blade. With a single swing, Yataro cuts down countless Bushi, laughing as he does. Musashi attacks but feels his own energy being drained. Yataro explains his black sword functions just like the obsidian goddess controlling blade energy and starts pulling everyone's power the same way she once did, building toward one overwhelming attack no one can withstand. Watching countless lives about to be lost, Musashi rushes in anyway to speak with Michiru, who tells him she wants to leave with him because she loves him. Realizing she still remembers, Musashi watches the sword itself begin to weep. As Yataro strikes again, Natora steps in, boosting himself and the others, and the three take him on together, but he overwhelms them easily, picking off the helpless Bushi one after another. Just as he's about to finish Musashi, Kojiro blocks the blow and time freezes as a portal opens, revealing Michiru as a young child. Musashi steps inside and witnesses her birth. Her father initially thrilled, only to abandon her seconds later, upon discovering she lacked the goddess's power. As they talk, Michiru thanks him for the first genuine happiness she's ever felt, and touching his hand restores all her memories at once. She explains she can only regain her human form once the black stone inside her father is destroyed, revealing 5 colored doors representing elements that together form obsidian. Mastering even one is essential to defeating Yataro. Back in reality, Musashi begins absorbing everyone's power exactly as the goddess once did. Yataro tries to reclaim it all. In the clash that follows, Musashi loses an arm, but still stops Yataro's attack with a single finger, having condensed all the gathered energy into it, then overpowers him with his bare hands until the black stone is forced out of his body on its own, before Musashi can destroy it. Michiru tries once more to reach her father, insisting she never dreamed of becoming some superior being. She only wanted happiness, to hold her father's hand and learn to walk beside him. Yataro ignores her, still trying to manipulate her into compliance. So she tells Musashi to destroy the stone regardless, even knowing her father's death might mean her own disappearance. But Yataro reveals that won't happen, since her body is half human. Musashi destroys the stone. Michiru returns to human form, and Awaji Island is finally free of its monsters. Afterward, Michiru is kept inside the castle, and thanks to Musashi's request, she's spared imprisonment. Elsewhere, the Uisugi Lord privately muses that it's strange he was only captured and not killed, suspecting the Obsidian Eight still have a larger plan in motion. And that's where the series currently leaves off.